Every single day, about 1/5 of the planet's crude oil supply makes its journey through a confined body of water. This waterway is known as the Strait of Hormuz.
The Strait of Hormuz.
In the Strait of Hormuz, thousands of lives are on hold too.
Today, Iran took aim at ships in the Strait of Hormuz. The UK reporting multiple ships have been attacked in or near the strait.
And it's the gateway through which millions upon millions of barrels flow constantly. At its tightest point, this passage measures just 21 miles across. But here's what most people don't realize. The actual navigation corridors for ships, each direction gets only 2 miles of usable water. Picture this. Tens of millions of barrels funnel through these tight lanes every single rotation of the Earth. One unavoidable fact emerges from this reality. Should anything go wrong in the Strait of Hormuz, the consequences ripple instantaneously across every economy on the globe. The recent pattern of regional instability has made this critical vulnerability impossible to ignore. Military vessels now regularly monitor these waters. Insurance costs for commercial shipping have climbed dramatically. Companies operating tankers are quietly formulating backup plans for disasters that might strike. Over the last decade, this waterway has witnessed incidents of unprecedented scale. Commercial vessels being seized, ships sustaining damage from attacks, and armed forces clashing openly. This strip of ocean represents a flashpoint where a single miscalculation could trigger a much larger conflict with worldwide consequences. The strait hasn't officially shut down, yet the very threat of closure sends tremors through global fuel markets. This doesn't just affect financial traders and oil companies, it cascades down to affect regular people. Disruption means your fuel prices climb. It means shipping costs increase for everything you purchase. It translates to higher sticker prices everywhere from American retail shops to Tokyo department stores. This creates an intriguing scenario. Imagine if vessels could get around the strait entirely. Throughout the modern era, engineers and strategists have contemplated an audacious proposal. Excavate a monumental waterway through Oman's Musandam mountain range, which would permit sea traffic to sidestep the strait completely. On maps and in blueprints, it appears elegantly simple. But when confronted with the actual facts on the ground, this simple concept becomes far messier. Before we can grasp this canal idea, we need to understand the area's geography. The Persian Gulf Basin contains some of the planet's most significant petroleum reserves. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, plus the UAE all extract massive quantities here. Yet when these nations' tankers depart, there's just one route available: the Strait of Hormuz. Approximately 20 million barrels navigate through every 24 hours. That's 1/5 of humanity's petroleum consumption. Rarely does any single corridor on Earth hold such enormous economic importance. The difficulty is compounded because other routes are scarce. Some nations have attempted to lower their reliance on this route. Saudi Arabia engineered an extensive system of pipes stretching across its territory, carrying petroleum westward toward the Red Sea's shoreline. The UAE, similarly, constructed their own network of pipes to move oil from their fields straight to Fujairah's port, situated beyond the strait's reach. But neither of these engineered solutions can match the capacity of maritime shipping. They manage just a portion of what normally travels by water. For the remainder of the world's petroleum needs, oceanic vessels remain indispensable. Therefore, humanity's energy supply remains bound to this narrow passage, a situation that troubles experienced engineers, since such pressure points concentrate vulnerability in a way that's deeply risky. At the northwestern tip of Oman sits a particularly harsh landscape designated the Musandam region, a mountainous mass that protrudes into the strait like nature's fortress. What catches specialists' attention is that, at specific locations, the actual distance between the Arabian Gulf's water and the Gulf of Oman's water shrinks dramatically, merely several dozen kilometers separating the two bodies. The proposition sounds straightforward enough. Why not simply carve an artificial channel straight through these mountains? Tankers could exit the Gulf, traverse the freshly dug waterway, and emerge directly into the open ocean beyond, bypassing the strait entirely. The blueprint looks good in theory. Reality presents a starkly different narrative. The Musandam region isn't flat terrain waiting for excavation. It's an extension of the Hajar Massif, featuring some of the harshest landscape throughout Western Asia. Jagged peaks of limestone jut upward with little warning, some climbing over 2,000 plus meters into the sky. That's more than 6,500 feet of vertical rock. Creating a canal wouldn't be a matter of moving sand. It would demand tunneling or blasting through solid mountain formations stretching across dozens of kilometers. Additionally, this hypothetical canal would require staggering proportions. the enormous tankers used in modern commerce, referred to as VLCCs, or very large crude carriers, rank among the biggest floating vessels humanity has constructed. Housing these behemoths safely would demand a canal that's extensively deep, remarkably wide, and structurally sound enough to handle ships stretching hundreds of meters in length. The scale of rock removal required would be almost incomprehensible. Hundreds of millions of tons would need extraction through blasting and mechanical processes. Not only would the undertaking be technically monumental, but the ecological damage would be catastrophic. The financial cost would stretch well into the hundreds of billions. Put this in perspective. The Panama Canal's expansion alone consumed about $5 billion and took years. An equivalent project in Musandam could consume multiples of that price tag. But, assuming the engineering problems somehow got resolved, a different complication emerges: governmental and political hurdles. Oman actually possesses sovereignty over the Musandam territory. Currently, there exists zero concrete proposal to build such a waterway. Oman's intentions for that area emphasize economic activities like tourism, maritime facilities, and broader infrastructure development, not carving shipping pathways through mountains. Constructing such an enormous project would demand unprecedented degrees of worldwide partnership. It would require firm political backing from regional authorities, enormous financial investment from multiple nations, alongside binding commitments for permanent security. Furthermore, there's an uncomfortable reality that nobody wants to discuss. Even if constructed, this canal wouldn't actually remove the fundamental problem. It would simply transfer it elsewhere. Instead of relying on the Strait of Hormuz, the worldwide petroleum market would instead hinge on a single man-made waterway. And man-made canals, precisely like their natural counterparts, remain susceptible to blockage. A vessel running aground could seal it. A military strike could devastate it. A natural disaster could rupture its infrastructure. Essentially, the international economy would exchange one critical bottleneck for a different one. So why does this Musandam Canal concept keep attracting attention, despite being so difficult to realize? Because it illuminates something fundamental about how our contemporary world operates. Geography imprisons global commerce. Several narrow waterways in Africa, contested passages between rival powers, along with a handful of pivotal ocean routes, silently manage the planet's economic circulation. Throughout recorded history, these geographic choke points have managed the movement of resources, merchandise, and international power. The Musandam Canal embodies an ambition, attempting to fundamentally restructure geography to eliminate one of civilization's most precarious weak links. However, nature doesn't bend easily to human desire. Excavating through mountains requires extraordinary effort, and managing international politics is harder still. For the foreseeable future, the Strait of Hormuz will continue being what it's eternally been: a critical yet perilously exposed corridor for the world's energy infrastructure. Humanity will persist in depending on it, ensuring that the concept of the Musandam Canal, however impractical, will keep captivating imaginative thinkers grappling with how precarious our interconnected systems actually are.